Joining us now, she's the assistant coach of the Utah Utes, of course, the pitching coach, a two-time national champion at the Oklahoma Sooners, and of course helped the Utes get to the Women's College World Series last year. Speak of our Paige Parker, back with us here at In the Circle. That's a good couple added resumes you've added there over the last year.
Yeah, it was it was a fantastic year, a lot of fun and really excited to get back on the field this year and get going again.
Let's reflect on last year. 42 wins, you get a national seed, you win the Pac-12 tournament, and then obviously get to Oklahoma City. Now that you've had a little time to reflect on
Mhm.
last year, what comes to mind?
I think about a lot about our team and just the work and the effort that they put into every single part of the year. I think 2 seasons ago, that was my first season, and, we didn't make the postseason, and, it started from that moment, when we didn't get our name called, and it was pretty devastating to our team, and, I think there was a decision from that moment that they didn't wanna feel that ever again, and so, all throughout last year, the work that they put in on and off the field, and being able to see that what that did for them and the culmination of it all, with winning the Pac-12 championship, going to the World Series, being able to host, like being able to see all of that hard work pay off for them was, the most rewarding thing for us as a coaching staff. And so, that's the thing that comes to mind the most is just the work that they put in, not only on the field, but off the field. I think that they realized that not only did it come from their talent on the field, but what they were doing off the field in terms of, team chemistry and how they treated and interacted with one another and what a difference that made on the field for them. So just really proud of all the work and all the things that they decided as a group to change and to do a little bit different last year.
Was there a moment during the season last year where you thought, "Hey, we could do something pretty special over here"? Because every team has that moment, defined moment, game or situation. That when did that occur last year that you thought, "Hey, when that could be"? Was there a moment like that?
Um, it's interesting. It came pretty late in the season. We went to Oregon. It was our last, I believe, our last pack series that we had, regular season series that we had last year. We went into Oregon and we swept them at their place. And I think that just kind of kick started the rest of the year for us. We knew at that time, like at that point, we were like, okay, we're peaking at the right time here. Like everything's really, we had a great season up until that point. Like we had some great games, played really well. But that moment, I felt like our team was like, all right, let's go. Like had great momentum going into the postseason. And so I think that was a really big turning point for us.
Going into the Pac-12 tournament, what was the mindset like? A historic first Pac-12 tournament,
Mhm.
and as you get to the championship game, I remember because I do the bracketology. I'm thinking if you
Mhm.
win this game, I think you're going to host, which you
Yeah.
did. You ended up winning the Pac-12 tournament.
Mhm.
Did you all believe you had a chance to host as you were making that run in the Pac-12 tournament?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we started, we didn't really talk about it with the team or anything. We just wanted them to stay focused on the Pac-12 tournament. I think as a staff, we kind of were like, I wonder if if we pull this off and we win the Pac-12 championship, like we might have a really good shot at hosting. And I think we believed in that pretty big. And as soon as we won that game, we were like, okay, we feel like we have a really, really good shot to host here. So I think we were aware of it. I don't know if our team was like amongst themselves might have been a little bit aware of that. It wasn't something we really talked about at all until kind of after that happened. So
Through that run in that tournament, and then obviously winning that championship, something you know very well as a player, winning a conference championship.
mhm.
But here you are, this team will always be remembered as the first, the team that
Mhm.
won the inaugural first ever Pac-12 championship, part of a historic run. But take me through that tournament run, and then when you hoisted, get that final out, and you're like, hey, we're champions.
Yeah, I think that Pac-12 tournament was really cool for us because how it was lining up was we were going to play the teams that we did not win the series against during the regular season. So we started off the tournament with Cal. We had gone to their place. They took 2 of 3 from us. So we kind of, coined it as a little bit of our revenge tour. So, Cal had taken 2 of 3 from us. Washington had taken 2 of 3 from us at their place. And then UCLA had come in and swept us during at our place during the regular season. And so we had a little bit of a chip on our shoulder against those teams. And I really think that fueled our team a ton going into that tournament, knowing, hey, let's get a little bit of revenge on all of these teams that had beaten us throughout the regular season. And so, I think they had a little bit of fire in them. And we just kept building off momentum. Like I was talking about earlier, we had gone and swept Oregon. And so that gave us really great momentum kind of heading into the rest of the Pac-12 tournament.
Yeah, you peaked at the right time, and you win the Pac-12 tournament. I remember because that was a late night after you won the
Mm-hmm.
game. I stayed up till like 3 in the morning
Yeah.
to update my bracketology, but I felt you should host at that point because you've done the work. And that's one of the reasons why the Pac-12 tournament came about, was to
Right.
give teams like yours not that extra opportunity that you didn't have under the old system.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We were so excited to have a Pac-12 tournament last year and to have that opportunity because it makes a huge difference for lots of teams. Somebody could have, somebody always has the opportunity to come in and win that tournament. Also, that might not have made it to postseason at all. So we were really happy and really excited to have been a part of that Pac-12 tournament, and we wanted to be the first champions as well. I remember kind of at our practice that we had the day before the tournament started, some of our girls were talking about, like, let's go out and be the first champions of the Pac-12 tournament. So it was a really great experience for our team for sure.
You get to the selection show. Take me through that. Are you thinking we got a host? What goes through your mindset and the coach a host? Because you literally have to wait till the
Mhm.
last bracket
Yeah.
to get released. So that's a long wait.
Yeah, it felt like the longest selection show of my life. I was like, okay, are we gonna host? Like, we just kept thinking about it. And like I remember you know, we were um we were all kind of sitting and watching it, and I was on the opposite side of the room as Coach A and DJ, and we were just like kind of kept looking at each other, and we kind of just kept going, like, shrugging our shoulders, like we don't know what's gonna happen. It felt like such a long selection show. And I just remember, like, when they called our name to be the host, like, our girls just shot up out of their seats, and it was a really, really cool moment. But like, it's so different as a coach versus being a player, because I, like, as a player, I'm like, yeah, I don't care if we get sent somewhere. I don't care if we host. I mean, obviously I want to host, but I'm like, yeah, let's just go play. And now as a coach, it's like so much more anxiety inducing. And so I just remember sitting there being like, when are they going to call our name? Like, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting. So it was a little bit anxiety inducing, that's for sure.
Well, the good news is you knew you were in because you won the automatic bid.
Absolutely.
It was just a question of where you're going,
Yeah.
or if you're going anywhere. And you're right; it's
Hmm.
just got to be dramatic. It's always the way they do it too. It's very dramatic because
Yes.
they announce it from 1 through 16, whereas the other sports kind of do it by matchups. But
Hmm.
um, so you host the regional. Of
Yeah.
course, as the 16th seed, that you did not get an easy regional because you got Baylor, you got Ole Miss, you got Southern Illinois. That
Hmm.
was a wild regional, a lot of offense there.
Yes,
But you
it was.
but you win that regional, and then you end up hosting the super regional because
Hmm.
UCLA gets knocked off, and San
Yeah.
Diego State ends up winning that regional. So now you're hosting. So take me through that kind of week, that time frame. You got a stacked regional where you had battle. That was anybody
Yep.
could have won that
Yeah.
regional. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden you find out, oh, wait a minute, we're hosting the Supers. What was that like?
Yeah, that was a pretty wild time. Like, obviously, like the UCLA regional was a big upset, and so, in our minds, we're after our regional ends, we're just like, I can't remember quite if the UCLA regional had ended yet or not, but that Sunday that you're playing in the regional, like we honestly have no idea what fate we're gonna have after that day, whether we're going to go to UCLA or what if we're going to host or what's going to happen. And I just remember like thinking afterwards, I was like, oh, all right, we're hosting super regionals next weekend. Like, let's do this thing. Like, this is awesome. And all the fan support that we had gotten from our regional, like, we were so stoked to get to host our super regional as well, because we knew, the crowds that we were going to draw and the support that we were going to get. That upcoming weekend. And that whole week of kind of preparing for the super regional is just like such a whirlwind, because you have your practices and then sanctioned practices, and it's a little bit, it's a new experience for our team because we haven't really experienced that before. And our field is being transformed and all the things. And I just remember like really trying to help keep them focused on the task at hand and not get caught up in everything that's happening around us, because I think that's pretty easy to get caught up in. And so I just remember really trying to help keep our team focused on San Diego State and the task that we had in beating them, because we knew with them coming in how tough that super was going to be. And so it was just like really keeping our team locked in that entire week.
Describe the feelings and the emotions once the final game ends, and you realize you're going to the World Series, but you're going as a coach.
Yeah.
Compare that versus the feeling of clinching that last game. You know, you're going to Oklahoma City as a player versus a coach.
Yeah, it's a much, much different feeling. I think as a coach, I realize all of the work that gets put in, behind the scenes and all the things that have to happen in order for, a team to make it to the World Series. Whereas as a player, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I expect. Cause I, not that I don't expect that as a coach, but I think I understand the magnitude of it as a coach much more than I did as a player. And, it's to watch this team of these awesome young women that you get to work with every single day accomplish something that they've dreamed of since they were a little girl, like is the most rewarding thing, honestly, that I can think of. And so I think as a coach I have a much more of an appreciation for it in the moment than I did. I think as a player, I appreciate that now. Now that I'm not playing anymore, but I think as a coach, I appreciate that so much more in the moment because I realize all of the things that they did in order to make that happen. Whereas as a player, I'm like, yeah, I'm just taking care of business kind of a thing.
Obviously, your resume at Oklahoma City speaks for itself. We talked about it the last time you were on, winning the
Mhm.
back-to-back national titles in 16 and 17. I was there in 18 when you had that incredible day where you pitched twice in the same day
Mhm.
and got you to that Sunday, Elimination Sunday, as they called it back then.
Yeah.
That was 18. 5 years later now, you're there as a coach. Describe that feeling being back at Oklahoma City.
It was pretty surreal. I was like, I remember when we stepped on the field that first day, and I just remember like taking it all in and it feeling like I was taking it all in like the same way as I did as a player. It was really special. It was a really, really special moment for me. Um, and something that, I'll never forget the time that I'll never forget the time that I stepped on the field in Oklahoma City as a player, and I'll never forget the time that I stepped on the field in Oklahoma City as a coach. Um, it's very humbling to be able to have um, experienced that in both roles. And it's something that I'll cherish forever.
It sounds like you allowed yourself, at least for a moment, to take it in. Did
Hmm.
you?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that I encouraged each and every one of our players to do as well. The day before we played, I kind of talked to them a little bit about like, hey, like this is kind of what the World Series is all about, and some of the things that you might feel. And I said, above everything else, you need to take a moment to take it all in because it's something that not everyone gets to experience, and it's something that you've dreamt of since you were a little girl. So take it all in. And I took my own advice with that again. I did that as a player, and I wanted to do that as a coach as well because I didn't want the moment to pass me by, because it's not something that everyone gets to experience.
You got a bad draw in that Mother Nature got involved and messed up the whole
Mhm.
schedule. And you had to play basically twice in one
Yeah.
day, which they've been trying to avoid,
Right.
and all that. I'm curious, that experience, how does that now translate to this fall with the returners? Because on the one hand, all of the returners, they're probably getting, they got a lot of pats in the back, great years and
Right.
everything. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I know, and Coach Hogue, we talked to her there at the time at Oklahoma City. There was a bad taste in your mouth from the standpoint,
Mhm.
because some things went against you. No excuses, as
Right.
she said, but at the same time, you didn't put out your best there because of some circumstances
Right.
there. How does that also motivate you at the same time?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a motivating factor for our team. I think, to go in and lose twice in one day is not something that you want to do when you get to the World Series. And so I think that has made them hungry for more. And I think that, it's something that did leave a bad taste in our mouths, for sure. Like, as great as it is to make it to the World Series and to be in the final eight, like, you want to go to Oklahoma City and you want to win. And so, that's definitely a motivating factor for our team. Is, just like they didn't want the feeling of what it was like to not make the postseason, they don't want the feeling of what it's like to go in and lose two games in the World Series again.
What do you take out of that as a coach, the experience that you'll take with you the next time if you get that opportunity to go back?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it is, understanding that there are a lot of things that we can't control and a lot of outside factors that are not typical of what we're kind of used to, in terms of preparation for games and that, kind of going through the whole celebratory piece of the World Series. And so I think as a coach, like, you just understand how to prepare them better for some of those moments and some of those unexpected, uncontrollable things. And so you're able to understand how to help prepare your team a little bit better for when we do make it again and run into those same types of uncontrollable things.
I asked Taryn Moat this question. I'll ask it to you because you two are part of this illustrious group that has pitched in a World Series and is now coached at a World Series, pitch called at a World Series. How do
Yeah.
you describe those two? Are you nervous one more than the other?
Yeah, I'm much more nervous probably being a pitch caller in the World Series than I was as a pitcher. I think it's so, you know, being a pitching coach who has pitched, on a big stage, it's hard to not be able to have any control over what's happening. I can call the pitch, but I can't control whether it's executed or not. And so I think not being able to kind of have that sense of control makes things a little bit more tough and a little bit more nerve wracking than when you're on the mound and you feel like you have all the control in the world. Because you're in control of whether or not you execute or not. So I definitely felt a little bit more of the nerves, I think, from the pitch calling perspective than actually pitching in the World Series.
You've been there a short period of time, but you've turned around that pitching staff. That's one of the reasons why you got there. And DJ did the job with the offense. And
Mhm.
I remember talking to Coach Hogue. That was a big part of why she brought you in. How were
Mhm.
you able to get the most out of the pitchers you've had in such a short period of time? Because it's only literally been a couple of years, like you said.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that I have focused on with our pitching staff is, just establishing and creating relationships. I think for to create those like strong relationships with our pitchers has allowed them to trust me at a really high level, and to buy in and believe the things that I'm trying to help them with and that I believe that they can do. And it's about getting them to believe that they can do those things as well. And so it's just been that establishing that relationship with them, and figuring out what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, like how can you handle certain situations. All of those things kind of have helped, just to give them a really strong confident mindset on the mound that they can do great things.
Of course, helps to have talents like Mariah Lopez too.
Mhm. Yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
what's it like working with her? And obviously, what she did last year, winning 23 games.
Mhm.
What's the ceiling for her?
Yeah, working with Mariah is a joy. She works very, very hard, and she expects a lot out of herself. And I think with her, she has a really, really high ceiling. She's very, very talented at what she does. And like I said, she works very hard at it as well. She takes a lot of pride in her craft of pitching. And the thing that's been really cool with her is just how much I feel like she has learned over the past few years and applies what she learns. I think, she's always wanting more. She wants more, wants more. And so that's really helped her elevate her game, is just, for her to really understand what she's doing on the mound, and becoming, more of a pitcher rather than a thrower. Like she's always been really talented, but for her to have a high level of understanding of what she's trying to do has really helped her elevate her game quite a bit.
I've heard that so many times about pitchers.
Mm.
Like some, they come in as a thrower, and some of them it takes them a while to figure out how to
Right.
pitch than others.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to figure out how to pitch when you got to Oklahoma?
I was thrown into the fire pretty early. And
Yeah.
and I think too, like the thing that I was very blessed with is that my dad was a coach all throughout growing up. My dad coached me. And so I felt like my softball IQ going into college was at a pretty good level, but definitely probably, going through my freshman year, I feel like I really started to truly understand what I was trying to do, with the help of Coach Lombardi. Like she taught me so much in such a short amount of time. And, you know, I just wanted to soak it all in, and adding in film and adding in all of those different things really helped speed up that process for me. So I would say, closer to like the end of my freshman year and then really into my sophomore year, I really feel like that part of my game developed, and also helped me really to elevate at that point.
Talk about the rest of your pitching staff. What can we expect this year? Obviously, there with and your pitchers and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, so we returned Sarah Ladd from last year, and I expect her role to really to elevate this year as well. I think we have a really good mix, even though they're both lefties, with her and Mariah, and then we added a transfer from Cal State Fullerton, Racy Miranda, who's gonna also really help us on the mound this year with, she throws the ball hard and does a lot of really good things as well. And so I think, those three are gonna really um, take up a lot of our innings. And then we have some young arms as well. We have a couple of redshirt freshmen that are going to help us out a little bit as well. But those top three are really going to give us a bulk of our innings, and they're a really good mix between the three of them and give a lot of different looks. So I'm really excited to see what the three of them, do with that mix on the mound. And I think that they're going to be really great, and I'm excited to see what they do for sure.
Offensively, you return good piece of the offense. You lose obviously a great one
Yeah,
in Bondstrom, but that's life. But that means other opportunities for other players. Obviously, you
right.
get to face them at practice. How is the
Mhm.
offense looking, and what can Utes fans expect?
Yeah, our offense is in a great spot. You know, Courtney has come in this fall and has done a great job of continuing to develop our offense. We've had a few injuries this fall, and so some of our younger players have had a lot more opportunities. And that's been awesome just to see, you know, how they're developing as well. But I'm really excited about, you know, just our team and our offense in general. You know, we returned everybody, all of our starters last year, minus Bondstrom. So we bring back so much of our team, and they have a really good chemistry, really good bond between them. And I think, you know, we're in a really good spot.
Who's the leaders on this team, either as vocal or by example?
You know what's pretty cool with our team, and this is something that we kind of established last year, is that, you know, we think of our team as having 23 captains. We don't have captains per se, but we have 23 leaders who all do something different. And so I think we have a mix of, you know, vocal leaders. We have people who lead by example. You know, I think our senior class just in general are great leaders. You know, they've been around in the program for a long time, and they're, you know, the upperclassmen. But I think that's something that's pretty unique about our team is I feel like we have everybody has a voice and everybody has kind of a spot in that leadership piece where they can shine, whether that be through their mouth or, you know, with their feet or whatever they may do. Each person kind of has that role and has that space to be a leader.
You mentioned Courtney Martinez. She's obviously new to the staff coming over from Iowa State after DJ
Hmm.
Gasso moves on to Arkansas, in part to be closer to his family. I think you're familiar with that
Hmm.
family a little bit.
Yeah.
You also add Kaia Gibson as part of the expanded staff with the new, obviously, the full time rules now in
Hmm.
play coming over. She was volunteer at UCF, so I know her very well. And I expect that energy will not be lacking now at practice
Yeah.
with Coach Gibson around. So just tell me about Courtney and Kaia and their additions.
Yeah. So I'll start with Kaya. Just like what you said, is just energy. She brings fantastic energy to our team. You know, I think Coach A, myself, Coach Court, we're a little bit more of like kind of low key on the energy scale. And so her having her energy present at practice is awesome. She has great ideas. And it's been really refreshing to have her around at practice with, you know, new fun ideas, a lot of energy. She's been awesome. And then, you know, Coach Court, she, you know, bringing her in to lead our offense has been awesome. She is very, very methodical about what she does and is incredibly smart about hitting. And so I think some of the things that she's brought and some of the new things that she's brought as well has been awesome. But you know, the both of them have come in with really, really good ideas and new things to bring to our program, and it's been, you know, very welcomed, and they've been great additions for sure.
Obviously, now as a coach, I'm curious, what have you learned as a coach from the standpoint of that you look back 5, 6 years ago, you're thinking, man, I wish I would have known that when I was a player. What has there been that moment as a coach where you're like, you know, why didn't I not know that as a player back then? Or you went to Coach Gasser and says, now I remember why you told me that, Coach, or Coach Lombardi.
Yeah, you know, I think some of the thing like I remember, you know, I was always very like kind of not stressed out as a player sometimes, but I could get wrapped up in like perfectionism a lot. I think I expected a lot of things out of myself. Um, and I think now kind of knowing what I know as a coach, like I wish I could have gone back and just told myself to relax sometimes and that everything's going to be okay and everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to. Rather than just being so wrapped up in trying to be so perfect all the time.
I feel like that's great advice for everybody in general, just not just softball. I feel like I feel like we all could say that to each other, to
Oh,
ourselves.
for sure, and I still, fall victim to it all the time now, as a coach, like, if, sometimes I make, a pitch call and it doesn't go the way I want it to, like, I'll beat myself up about it, but I'm really trying to learn that, things are gonna happen the way that they're gonna happen, and we don't have a lot of control over it, and all you can do is prepare your best and do whatever you can to help your team win, and at the end of the day, win or loss, like it is what it's going to be. So, yeah, for sure. I think that's something that everybody can learn from. And I'm obviously still really trying to learn that on a daily basis, but I think I realize it a little bit more now as a coach than I did as a player.
Yeah, I would say you're doing pretty well for yourself getting Oklahoma
Thanks.
City there, helping get Coach Hogue back there. What did that mean? What's it been like working for her?
Yeah.
Obviously, she is Utah softball. Like it's
Hmm.
you can't talk Utah softball without what Coach
Right.
Hogue. What did it mean to help her get back to to get to Oklahoma City and lead the program?
Yeah, that was really special. She made it there as as a Utah player, and to be able to be a part of that and be a part of her getting to Oklahoma City as the Utes coach was really something that was special, and getting to see, all of our alumni come back and all of the people who support our program and support her, it was really special, and it's a joy to work for her, and um, I've learned a lot in these past, I guess, 2.5 years now, from her, and so being able to be a part of that with her was pretty special for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so amazing because she gave you that
Mhm.
opportunity
For sure.
in a big spot there, and it's just kind of been amazing how well it's worked out
Yeah.
from that standpoint. Obviously, it's a unique year from the Pac-12 for a lot of reasons. Obviously,
Mhm.
beyond anybody's control with college athletics and realignment and everything that's going on. The irony from your standpoint is, after this year, Utah will be going to the Big 12, a league you
Mhm.
know quite well
Yeah.
and because your name is all a lot over that media guide that says Big 12 record books. So, how do you feel about that? It's got to be a bit of mixed emotions because I'm sure you're enjoying the Pac 12. I'm sure it's emotional for Coach Hogue's been at Utah, led him to the Pac 12. On the
Right.
other hand, Utah has been accustomed to this, changing to leagues. And for
Mhm.
you, it's kind of going back to a league you're quite familiar with.
Yeah, the conference realignment, just like you said, is obviously a bittersweet thing. I think everyone wanted the Pac-12 to be able to stay together, and it, obviously it just didn't end up working out that way. We're excited about the move to the Big 12. I think it's, obviously for me, it is something that I'm very familiar with the Big 12, and kind of going back to very familiar territory, and things like that. So we're really excited about it. We're excited, to just keep building our program and to keep, representing the University of Utah, and with our administration and everything and their support, and how well everything was handled with the move to the Big 12. Like we're excited about it, and we're looking forward, to representing Utah in the Big 12 for sure.
Right, it's going to be still a super strong conference for softball.
Absolutely.
Just like with Arizona coming in, you're coming in,
Hmm.
Arizona State coming in, Oklahoma State in. The weird thing for you though is Oklahoma's not going to be in there.
I
How weird is
know.
that
I
going to be
know.
for you as an alum?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how, we're kind of entering the Big 12 as Oklahoma's exiting the Big 12, and it's so interesting how everything's working out. But, like I said, lots of familiar teams. It's also, selfishly, it's going to be great because I'll be, traveling to places that are a little bit closer to home and a little bit closer to family, for me. So they'll be able to come to a little bit more, and I'll be able to see them a little bit more. So selfishly, like that's kind of a cool thing for me as well. But yeah, it's definitely going to be very different having a Big 12 with no Texas, with no Oklahoma. But again, like you said, we're entering into a really, really strong exiting a very strong softball conference and entering a very strong softball conference. So, like I said, we're excited about the move, and we know, how competitive it's going to be and how tough that conference is going to be as well.
Sounds like Coach Hoag's going to lean on you to be the tour guide for some of the places in the future. There, Stillwater. I mean, Ames, Iowa, Waco. You know these places.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Court as well, because she spent
Oh,
six
that's
years
right.
in the Big 12 and is entering back into the Big 12. So both of us are entering very familiar territory, and I think we'll be able to be some great tour guides. That's for sure.
And then Coach Gibson was at UCF, so she could give you she'll take care of Orlando for you. There you go. You're good.
Exactly,
You're
for
covered.
sure.
You're still young at this thing, which is what's remarkable what you've accomplished already so young. And you're obviously happy with what you're doing. But
Mhm.
I'm wondering, you mentioned your dad was a coach.
Yeah.
Do you think of down the road in the future, is that a goal to be a head coach at some point? Is that something that crosses your mind? Or are you just thinking about, what you're doing now? What, does that cross your mind?
Yeah, I think it's crossed my mind a few times, like way, way on down the road, potentially, being something that could be of interest to me. I'm really happy with where I'm at right now, and I love getting to be a pitching coach and really just focusing on pitchers. And so, it's something I've played around, like an idea I've played around with, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see what ends up happening. If that is something I want to do, but I do love being an assistant coach, and I love um getting to, really focus in on the pitchers. So yeah.
You miss playing? Do what part of playing do you miss, if at all? Or is the coaching kind of taking up maybe some of that, rush that you get as a player?
Yeah, some of it has. I think I miss game day. I miss game day. I miss being in the circle. I miss, getting after hitters and competing, one on one with hitters, but I don't really miss a whole lot else from it. I miss my teammates. I do miss my teammates quite a bit. They made my time very, very special, and I do miss getting to be on the field with them every day. But I'm good with being a coach. Like, a lot of what I probably would miss being a player, I get from being a coach, so it's great.
Do you still throw? Do you throw at batting practice? I mean, or
I throw some batting practice every once in a while. I actually threw today a little bit. I definitely don't dial it up quite like I used to. I do get our hitters with my changeup, a decent amount, but that's really, I'm pretty much fastball changeup, and that's all I got left in me. So
or you weren't one that depended on like throwing hard to get outs. You had a lot of different ways to get out anyway.
for sure, for sure. But I definitely I only have so many pitches left in my arm.
You're
So
saying you're saying after you're done, you're a little more sore than you were back when you were actively play. Is what you're saying?
100% much, much more sore than I used to get.
Basically, a reminder: don't come back. I'm good. Basically.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Very fair. Well, last thing before we let you go. Obviously, as you continue here in the fall, before you know it, February will be around.
Mm,
I know Coach Hogue very well. We've had on our many a times. I know how she
mm,
likes to schedule, so I know it's not going to be an easy non-conference schedule.
right.
I know you're playing in Puerto Vallarta week 2,
Yes.
as a matter of fact, because that's already been announced. So
Hmm.
who knows what else is in store from the scheduling standpoint. But with that in mind, what is going to be a couple keys for this group to continue that kind of that wave that you had last year? Like you
Hmm.
mentioned, you're still some more unfinished business to go, and but at the same
Right.
time, it's a new team because every team's different
Yeah.
every year.
Hmm. I think our what's going to be really important for this team this year is to stay the course. I think that they might expect that on day 1 in February that they might be at the same place where we left off at the World Series last year. And I think that they just need to, understand that we got to stick with the process and stay the course. And like what I was talking about earlier, like, everything will work out the way it's supposed to. But that to really just continue to trust the process and rely on all the work that they put in rather than expecting to be at our peak on day one.
Well, we look forward to that. Look forward to this upcoming season for you. But in the meantime, obviously, I appreciate you coming on. I was really excited for you and DJ and Coach Hogue and getting there to Oklahoma City. Like with you, it's especially unique because I've seen you in both aspects of your
Yeah.
career getting there and that success you've had. So congrats on that. Good luck
Thank
the
you.
rest of the way. And thank you for always taking the time to talk to us. Always enjoy talking to you about your career and your coaching career. And we hope to do this again down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.